Welcome to the True Tomorrows podcast. Ready for another cool weekly science fiction probe?
Always.
This week we're diving into a couple of wild and wonderful flash fiction stories that feel like blockbuster movies or like those epic bestsellers you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
So buckle up, get ready to explore some True Tomorrows, and hey, if you like what you hear, don't forget to rate and follow the show. That way you'll always be in the loop for more captivating adventures.
More captivating adventures. I like that.
All right, so we've got two fantastic flash fiction stories lined up, just waiting to be unpacked.
Hit me.
First up is one we're calling Old Salt of the Stars. Now, that's our catchy title, but the original story is called The Last Voyage of Sinbad. What stood out to you about this aging space pirate on his quest for, well, impossible treasure?
Well, first off, you've got that classic trope, the grizzled adventurer, past his prime,
Sure.
but taking on one last, maybe ill-advised mission. Sinbad, even his name, this alias he cherishes, it just screams legend.
Right.
And then you layer in the details, the tangled gray beard, the vacuum brawl scars etched all over his face. That instantly gives you a picture of a guy who's lived a life on the fringes of the galaxy, seen some stuff.
Absolutely. Makes you wonder about the stories behind each one of those stars, right?
Oh, yeah. And then there's the Artemis, his ship. More patchwork than original Hull, right?
Yeah, more duct tape and hope than Starship at this point.
Exactly. It really sets up that contrast between Sinbad and Jinx, his first mate.
Oh, Jinx. The voice of reason, I guess you could say.
Young, cybernetically enhanced, a spacer who sees the world through a different lens. And she's not buying it. Her line sounds like a myth. Is what most of us would be thinking.
Oh, for sure. Immortal treasure, come on. But then Sinbad hits back with that classic line, all the best treasures are, lassie.
A classic.
Just dripping with that old school space pirate swagger. It makes you wonder, what is it about Sinbad that makes him so unshakably convinced, even when the odds are stacked against him?
Yeah, it's that unwavering belief, even in the face of the impossible. Makes you think, is he clinging to a romanticized past? A time when legends were real. And Jinx, does she represent a more pragmatic present, a world shaped by tech and cold, hard data? It sets up a really interesting dynamic right from the get-go.
And that dynamic plays out throughout the story, for sure. Especially when you factor in the rest of Sinbad's crew. We've got a four-armed tech whiz.
Yeah.
A gentle giant alien. And then there's this surprisingly sharp young kid. It's the classic motley crew, a band of misfits on a grand adventure. What'd you make of them?
A motley crew is right. They reinforce that whole image of Sinbad as a charismatic leader, the kind of guy who can inspire loyalty in the most unexpected places. They're united by shared experiences, I think, and probably a shared belief in Sinbad's vision, however far-fetched it might seem.
Right. And the story throws a bunch of classic spacefaring hazards at them. Asteroid belt swarming with scavengers, a psychedelic nebula that fries their scanners. But Sinbad navigates it all with a mix of cunning, guts.
And maybe a little bit of luck. Don't forget the luck.
Oh, always a factor in these grand adventures.
It makes you think, what kind of leader can rally a group like that? To follow them into the unknown, what does Sinbad have that inspires that level of trust?
A good question to ponder, especially when things take a turn for the worse.
Oh yeah, things get real pretty fast.
Out of nowhere, this sleek, obsidian corporate enforcer ship shows up. The kind that hunts down old spacers for sport, just to prove a point. And then, bam, a laser blast graces one of the younger crew members. Stakes just went through the roof.
Suddenly, it's not just a fun adventure anymore.
Nope. Sinbad's outgunned, facing certain defeat. But then he spots it, an unstable wormhole at the edge of the nebula. It's a desperate gamble, a 1 in a million shot. He shouts, "Hold your breath!" and plunges the Artemis right into that tear in space-time. Talk about an edge-of-your-seat moment. What's going through Sinbad's head at that point?
I think that's where the story throws a bit of cold water on the romanticism of the whole thing. The corporate ship is like a harsh reminder that even in a galaxy of wonders and impossible treasures, there's still a brutal reality at play.
Yeah.
Sinbad's decision to jump into that wormhole, rather than face certain annihilation, it shows how far he's willing to go, how much he's willing to risk. It's survival instinct, sure, but there's also a recklessness there.
A kind of desperation, like he's in too deep to turn back now.
Exactly. And that makes you think, at what point does the pursuit of a dream turn into something self-destructive? When do you cross that line?
Good question. And that line might be a little blurry, especially when they emerge into this eerie emerald glow, facing a planet with energy readings that are off the chart.
It's like something out of a dream. Or a nightmare.
Sinbad whispers, this is it. Like, he's finally found what he's been searching for. But then they land on this spongy alien surface. And there it is, a colossal mountain of impossibly smooth metal. And from that shining facade, an entrance beckons.
You can't help but feel a sense of awe and dread at the same time.
Inside, this passage is pulsing with weird energy. Leads them to a vast, empty chamber. Just dull metal walls. And Jinx, she mutters, told you it was a myth.
Hey.
It's like she's speaking for the audience at that point. We're all thinking the same thing.
Right. Where's the treasure? Where's the immortality? What was all this for? But then, that's when the really twist hits.
The far wall starts to ripple, and a monstrous shape takes form. Claws, teeth, burning eyes. And Sinbad yells, run! But his warning is lost in the creature's roar. It's a classic bait and switch. What's your take on that?
That's where the story really flips the script. It's not some glittering hoard, the immortal treasure. It's something ancient, something powerful, something terrifying.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if the legend of immortality was misinterpreted.
Or maybe guarded by something that doesn't want to be found.
Exactly. It makes you rethink Sinbad's whole quest.
Yeah.
Was he really after immortality? Or was he just drawn to the mystery, the unknown, the promise of something beyond ordinary experience?
Maybe the real treasure wasn't the destination, but the journey itself.
That's a good takeaway. Sometimes it's out the experiences we gather along the way, the challenges we overcome, the bonds we forge.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's shift gears. Our second science fiction probe is one we're calling Caper in the Clouds. It's inspired by a flash fiction story called The Prism Heist. And this one throws us into a world where science fiction and fantasy, well, they kind of collide in a spectacular way. We've got a band of rogues, with magical abilities no less, attempting to pull off an audacious heist, their target. A prism located in this floating techno-city called Arium, a prism that has the power to bend reality itself. And of course they have to do it all while dodging this ruthless sorcerer technocrat named Corvus. What were your initial impressions of this setup?
It's a fantastic blend of genres right off the bat. You've got this floating techno city, Arium, a marvel of advanced tech. And then down below, you've got Haven, this more steampunk-esque city. That right there tells you there's this gap, this social and technological divide in this world.
Absolutely. And the fact that magic exists alongside all this tech, it raises all sorts of questions about how those two forces interact. Who controls them? Who benefits from them?
Right. It's a recipe for some serious conflict.
Yeah. And our protagonist, Zara, is a thief. Now, this might sound like a problem, but Zara has a bit of a fear of heights.
A bit.
Just a tad. And the city she's trying to infiltrate is, well, floating high above the ground.
A little ironic, isn't it?
Just a tad. Now, her crew consists of Twitch, the fidgety tech whiz, and Ash, a powerful fire mage. It's that classic heist team setup, with everyone bringing their own unique skills to the table. Their plan involves Zara perching precariously on a gargoyle while Twitch disables Arium sensors. He manages to crack them, says, we're in. But they only have 30 seconds. The tension is palpable. What did you make of Zara, our acrophobic thief, and the challenge in front of her?
I love the irony of Zara's fear of heights. It makes her instantly relatable. You know, even in this world of magic and floating cities, people still have everyday anxieties. But Zara is determined to overcome her limitations, to prove herself. And that makes her a compelling protagonist.
For sure. In that 30-second window, it's just enough time to make things go spectacularly wrong.
And they do, all they do.
So Zara descends on this stolen technomantic glider, but instead of landing in a vault filled with loot, she ends up in a flower garden. And she's immediately attacked by an ice mage. Twitch, panicking, admits, wrong floor. It's a moment of comic relief in the middle of all this chaos.
Yeah, classic heist movie stuff right there. The plan never survives contact with the enemy, right?
Never. But Ash comes in, unleashing a wave of fire to cover Zara, and Zara, thinking fast, uses a telekinetic shield to protect herself. The flower garden turns into an all-out brawl.
Cybernetically enhanced guards come pouring in. It's mayhem.
Pure mayhem. But in the midst of it all, Zara sees it. The prism. Starlight refracting inside this glass case. It's breathtaking. And then she spots him. Corvus. Cloaked, imposing, emanating power. Things just escalated. What's your take on this sudden descent into chaos?
It shows that even the best laid plans, especially in heists like this, can go completely sideways.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a test of character. Can they adapt? Can they improvise? Zara's ability to think on her feet, to use her powers and react to these unexpected threats, that's what makes her a skilled thief.
Absolutely. And then Corvus arrives and things shift. Literally.
Oh, yeah. His arrival changes the gravity itself. Talk about a power move.
It throws Zara off balance. and the prism tumbles towards a shattered balcony. It's a heart-stopping moment. She lunges, grabs the prism just as she plummets towards the city below. It seems like it's all over. But then a rope wraps around her waist. It's Twitch in a stolen airship. He says a bit of a trop, wouldn't you say? And as Zara looks down at the city receding below and up at her cheering crew, her fear of heights, it's like it vanishes. They might have made a mess of the heist, but they got the prism. Corvus is left empty-handed. What are your thoughts on this dramatic escape, and what happens now that these rogues have a reality-bending prism in their hands?
That climax is a brilliant mix of action, suspense, and a touch of humor, thanks to Twitch. Corvus's gravity manipulation. That adds a whole other level of threat. Zara's desperate grab for the prism. It's a classic hero moment. But now, the real question is, what will they do with it? This prism, this incredibly powerful artifact that's in the hands of thieves, can they be trusted?
That's a question that lingers, for sure.
Right. It makes you think about power and responsibility, and whether those two things always go together.
So let's take a step back. Look at the bigger picture. In Old Salt of the Stars, we saw ambition clashing with cosmic horror. Sinbad's relentless pursuit of that legendary planet leads to a terrifying encounter. Makes you think about the true meaning of immortal treasure and the price we might pay for chasing such desires.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most seductive myths are the ones that lead us to places we shouldn't go. Sinbad's ambition might have driven him to achieve incredible things, but it also blinded him to the true nature of what he was seeking.
And in Caper in the Clouds, we saw a thrilling mix of magic and technology, with this band of misfits overcoming their limitations, and a whole lot of chaos to seize a power that could reshape their reality.
It raises some big questions about the ethics of power. Who gets to wield it? What happens when that power falls into the wrong hands? Can we ever control something that has the potential to change the very fabric of existence?
These two flash fiction stories, they might be different in terms of setting and characters, but they both tap into these fundamental human yearnings. The desire for something more, something beyond our reach, whether it's eternal life or the power to shape our own destinies.
They remind us that the pursuit of those desires rarely follows a straight path. There are unexpected challenges, unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes we discover that what we thought we wanted isn't what we need at all.
Now, here's a final thought to leave you with. In both Old Salt of the Stars and Caper in the Clouds, we see characters venturing into the unknown, driven by that allure of something extraordinary. Sinbad follows whispers and a fated star chart. Zara and her crew dare to infiltrate this seemingly impenetrable fortress. What kind of true tomorrows might be waiting for us? Just beyond our current understanding, perhaps the greatest discoveries, the most profound changes, come from those leaps of faith, those journeys into uncharted territory.
It's a reminder that staying within our comfort zones, that can lead to stagnation. Real growth, real transformation, often comes from embracing the unknown, even with all its risks and uncertainties.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this science fiction probe into the fascinating realms of flash fiction here on the True Tomorrows podcast. We hope these tales have sparked your imagination. Don't forget to rate and follow the show for more weekly explorations into the cool and captivating world of science fiction. And until next time, keep pondering those true tomorrows.
Keep pondering.